away from people at certain airports, but it all varied at every airport. There's a lot of, we notice a lot of deficiencies. All dimensions, so everything is set up similar at every airport. So if we have these guys that get tasked out to go to a different airport, there's something that have experience. So it would take a lot of acclimation in that area to kind of get them used to whatever. So yeah, it depends, right? So like I said, we have certain triggers go later, right? We have to kind of keep them guessing, or else the timer in their head goes off and they say, normally I'll find something at this time, I want to go follow it, right? But that, right? We can't replicate what goes on in an of having this much work area is our dogs actually have time to show interest in something and determine or discriminate whether or not it's explosive. Right? So that would be our response, right? And as you can see, the other aspect of that is the box, and also just going in a circle, right? Over and over and over. So,
something sparked his interest, but it wasn't like, commitment or anything behind it. It was just like,
I remember the name. Oh. He come out with like Reno.
This is Mr. Clark Young, and I believe this is Ms. And then these folks here, the leadership kind of put this team together and then allows us the flexibility. We get fairly good, accurate reports from the folks in the field, the sins and some of those things with that being negative. So we brought the dog back here. We took him to an airport. The only instance where the leadership doesn't allow us to kind of do much is if we have, most of the times if it's a bite incident or an aggression incident. Things that we don't really win much from that. So we try to look at those specific instances. The leadership make the call on that. We have luggage on the side. The students do the same thing. This is how they work luggage for the certification, for their training, for their progress checks. So in our luggage pattern here, we actually have a carousel that's in the operation. So we'll put luggage on. Things start buzzing and stuff. We take these dogs over to the airport and deploy, and just making sure the environment is stress-free, that you're in a safe environment. So,
Department, and Mike Bio told us about the U.S. Marshals yesterday intelligence report. We go out to industry and academia and do all the data analysis. I can see you already work together cross-agency to a great extent, but Ms. Rubino, anything to add?
I do not.
Okay, with that, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, I'm glad you, thanks, Scott, appreciate it. All right, so I've got Danny and Johnny in the back, so if you guys hit me with any real hard questions, I'm gonna point back there. We'll get this going. I'm glad you asked that though, because otherwise that slide, I was just gonna say that's that and move on. But now the people in for the TSA Canine program is a whole dollar amount of $164.6 million. Once it hits TSA operations, everything's captured in that. So we don't go over that 164. I would argue we're probably a pretty good ways under that 164. And that's explosive detection canine teams. So what TSA does is we provide the dog, we provide environment. So what those 675 teams are doing are helping the TSA security mission because they're everywhere across the country. Relationship, we're very pro law enforcement reimbursable program. There's been some talk in Congress about to increase that by 50, so that jumped up from 372 to 322. And then the FTE, I don't like these in the TSA Canine program. I mentioned earlier, 136 of those are mine here at the CT. The cops are doing that. So
because I just learned about the
separate from that, yeah.
Separate from that.
Yeah, this falls under a, we call it a O. So any questions on that slide? It's a lot of money, but it's a great program.
A little bit of history, 20 years ago.
Because they're not a Cat 1 or a Cat X airport, so they don't have any TSA teams there. They do have legacy law enforcement teams there. But we have a great relationship with the FSD, Just Presses out there, and history of this program being on Lackland long before TSA was.
Okay, my name is Pete. Well, my name is Peter Herman. It's Peterherrmann. My title is I'm an acquisition program manager working in AFICA KA, more specifically the Category Management Program Support Office. Yeah, so I work specifically in terms of category management with Category 3, Security and Protection. For the Category Management Program Support Office, I am kind of the local resident program manager supporting specifically the Category Council Director, Mr. Scott Heisey here at the center, in terms of category management implementation and execution. Specifically within the Category Management Program Support Office, we aid with the category management process for the Air Force, and then also provide tools, templates, and training to assist the teams as they're researching and analyzing the different areas. Yeah, so this week is extremely exciting. This is our very first ever federal category management meeting specifically for an intelligence report. And what I mean by that is from an execution standpoint, we're specifically looking at government working dogs, bringing 10 federal agencies together to understand commonalities as well as variances in their requirement, the challenges that they face at a tactical level, and how we can acquire these and also manage the programs for working dogs more efficiently and effectively. Okay, so again, this week we have federal government working dog. When I say federal, to give you some examples, we have the Department of Homeland Security, who is really chairing this event. We also have TSA, we have our other DoD partners as well with us. Yeah, absolutely. Category management, it plays in all arenas, right? So oftentimes folks look at category management specifically as a cost cutting or cost savings mechanism, which it's absolutely not. What we're really here to do is to maximize mission effectiveness with every dollar that we spend. So looking at things from an industry perspective, typically they're measuring themselves on profit and loss. For us, our mission is our profit. So it's maximizing that mission with the dollars that we do have. And the way we can do that is through rate process demand savings as well as process efficiencies as we go forward. Yeah, so again, government working dogs, there's multiple requirements that play into it. We're not only looking at the acquisition of the dog or the statement of work for the vendors that are coming out. We're also looking at things like tangible commodities like dog food and trailers and the vet needs of these animals So we're looking holistically at anything that would play into the cost or strategic management thereof within these working dogs. And there's, again, commonalities among some of the agencies, and there's also differences, so we're trying to learn both. So again, yeah, collaboration and communication, huge. We don't oftentimes get opportunities for federal agencies to be able to come together and discuss commonalities and variances in their requirements. Oftentimes we're just looking to understand what's keeping you up at night, what's some of your greatest challenges. If we can go and begin to fix some of those things, we're going to be able to increase mission effectiveness, which again is really our primary goal. Yeah, so this is the first what we call a Category Intelligence Report kickoff meeting. After this, we'll begin to really continue to compile what we've learned from this week in terms of a requirement analysis. That then will shape and form the scope for this Category Intelligence Report and focus where we want to go look at from a market analysis standpoint. When we talk about market analysis, we're really beginning to understand who are the primary vendors in this particular area. How do we fit in terms of the entire market share for government working dogs? We're competing at a worldwide level here. We're buying against many other countries, and if we're not buying as a consolidated federal government, then we're competing against ourselves. Yeah, so again, our main goal here, this is federal working dog, where we're bringing in multiple agencies to look at requirements, to understand not only how we do things from a government perspective inside the fence line, but we're also looking out into industry and understanding how do local law enforcement, how do they procure these dogs? How are they strategically managing both the procurement and the sustainment of these dogs? Yeah, so this federal government working dog opportunity here is huge, not only for this specific requirement area with government working dogs, but really for the category management as a whole for the federal government. This is really the first of what we hope to be many collaborative efforts to bring different agencies together for a common purpose of understanding our requirements, how we not only acquire but sustain our assets, typical commodities and services across the globe, as well as how really what we're looking to do is to compare how we're doing things to industry to understand what is some of their best practices, what policies could we put in place in order to enhance some of our effectiveness. We're also looking for things like demand and consumption. What are some of those areas where we could lower those as well? Yeah, so we're super excited about this federal working dog opportunity here. We believe that this is the first of many to come in terms of just collaborating with our other agencies on common requirements, bringing, again, a magnifying glass, if you will, to some of the specific efficiencies and effectiveness that can be brought together. So from a federal perspective, we are buying, acquiring assets on behalf of the taxpayers. It's our fiscal responsibility to ensure that we're doing that in an effective and efficient manner, as well as creating metrics in order to understand how we're improving those buying patterns.
Okay, Chris Shelton, C-H-R-I-S S-H-E-L-T-O-N, and I'm the branch manager of the TSA Canine Training Center. So on Lackland, we provide single-purpose explosive detection canines for TSA handlers in the field, supporting the TSA security mission, as well as our law enforcement partner agencies with explosive detection canines. TSA program started on Lackland with the DoD long before TSA came to be an agency, all the way back to 1972. So the FAA developed an explosive detection canine program in the early 70s, and that's where this program has its roots and explains the relationship with the DoD on Lackland. The TSA Canine Program, as it is now, and the DoD 341st Military Working Dog Squadron have kind of grown up together over the years. The programs have, the size has increased, the mission has increased, and it's a great partnership that we share. The TSA is successful because of the partnership with DoD, and the ability for us to share resources in a similar mission on Lackland is outstanding. Extremely important. So what TSA does throughout the year, in the time that I've been here, a lot more collaboration is going on due to the increased security requirements across the country. So we look forward to these events because we can learn from each other. There's best practices. We're all sharing the same mission of keeping people safe in the country. So we have a lot of canine training methodologies, deployment methodologies that we can learn from each other. And just opening up the conversation between all the agencies is critical in making sure that we are increasing the capabilities and the performance of our programs. There is one of the things that we struggle with as a large canine program, as do any large canine program, is procurement of quality canines. There's a high supply and demand across the world right now for canines that can meet the security mission, and sharing the discussion with these different agencies about procuring canines, where we get our canines from, the price of the canines, the availability is just extremely important, and making sure that as the programs grow in the coming years that we have an adequate supply of canines. And the more conversations we can have with our partners, the more comfortable we could be that we're exploring all options. The more we can share those taxpayer dollars for the same mission, the better the programs are. So for example, right now we're building some infrastructure out here on Lackland to support the TSA mission, but we're doing that in partnership with the DoD. And for the ability for TSA and the Department of Defense to share those facilities is saving the taxpayer money, because we're not building separate facilities to meet our mission. So the more of those type of events that we can do with our partners, the better off we're being a good steward of taxpayer dollars. Yeah, I think they're outstanding. You know, we've mentioned a couple throughout the day in this meeting and yesterday that we've been doing with our partners, and I think the more we can expand on that, the better off we're going to be for long term. You know, within the government, resources are not never ending. You know, there's restrictions on what you can do, and the more we can share and learn from each other and share some of those resources, the better off we are. So one of the things this group is doing over yesterday and the next couple days is exploring options, looking at our program, sharing lessons learned, and then opening up the dialogue to even continue more opportunities in the future. So there's been an attempt over the years to find something that can equal the capabilities of canines, specifically in the explosive detection canine arena, and nobody's been able to produce anything electronic or living that can even come close to what a dog can do for finding explosives odor. So we're very confident in the capability of these dogs. We're very confident in how we deploy them in keeping the American people safe. So we're going to continue down that path until maybe something is developed that's better. But right now I would say, and maybe I'm a little bit biased, but there's nothing better out there than canines, and you know, I think we're doing the government and the public a good service by producing quality canine teams every day. Extremely important. The bond between a handler and a canine is what makes a successful team. So all of the dogs in the TSA Canine program are toy-driven dogs, so they're working for two things. One, the toy, and second, the praise from that handler for that partnership. So that handler-canine bond needs to be very strong, and we ensure that as part of not only our training, but once the handlers leave here with their canines, we make sure that they have a good partnership throughout their career. Yeah, that's one of the benefits of sharing with all of these other agencies that are here, so we can share those best practices. We believe we have a lot in TSA to offer to other agencies. I believe they have a lot to offer us. We do joint training out here. To the point earlier, we've had a lot of the different federal agencies out on Lackland within the last year doing some shared training exercises, training methodology discussions, and my hope is that this group in the next couple days will just expand on those opportunities. So with TSA being responsible for protecting the traveling public, we deploy our dogs in all of the mass transit venues across the nation. Trains, planes, cargo environments, ferry environments, everywhere that you would think a large group of people would be using for transit, we have canines out there protecting them for explosive detection capabilities.
Just like the trains behind you?
Just like the trains behind me, yeah. We do a lot of training in those. We have 19 training facilities on Lackland for TSA, and all 19 of those training venues are set up for all of those different areas we would be deploying the dogs in. We've got aircraft fuselage, we've got the trains that you see behind me, we've got airport environments. We also bring the dogs out into the live environment. We go to San Antonio International Airport with the canines and some of the other local areas to expose the canines and the handlers to real traveling public.